Just going live. Live yet? Okay, going live. We're at 3 seconds. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming back to the Radiology Technologist YouTube channel. I'm Ron Jones. I have another question I wanted to answer today. This one is questions and advice. It says, I came across your blog in my travels of researching how to get into the world of radiology and saw you were open to answering any questions and just general assistance, which I am. I've been going through many sites and just honestly can't get my info straight, and it's a tad overwhelming and just need a good course set. And so as of right now, I'm actually a veterinary diagnostic imaging vet tech. How cool is that? I know very different. I know it's very different from the human world, but I do hope to transition over one day as I found my passion is in imaging aspects. I currently do X-ray, ultrasound, CT with fluoro, and MRI, which is this person's favorite. My main question is mainly, how can I get started on my path? Can I do stuff online? How long can it generally take to complete? From what I've read, it seems as if one needs to go through an ART accredited program, get that, and then you go into different disciplines. I hope to make my main MRI due to my love of it, and saw some info that MRI can be used as a primary credential, which I guess is where I get a little confused in the whole process. Any help you'd be able to offer would be a tremendous help, and I thank you so much for your time. P.S. You have some great memes on the blog. Love the vet ones. Of course you do. That's what you do for a living. First of all, thanks for asking me the questions and giving me something to discuss. I'm always happy to talk about radiology stuff. I hope you know how many people wish they had your job, because when I posted those articles on my website at theradiologictechnologist.com about veterinary radiography, I get tons of responses every time I mention that. I have 2 articles on there and probably 30 or so images of anywhere from gorillas to turtles to giraffes to horses, snakes, all kinds of things getting imaged for diagnostic purposes. And people are always commenting, how can they get a job doing that? I think most people would rather deal with the animals than the humans. And here you are coming from the animal side, wishing you could come deal with the humans. So you might want to double think that, but I don't know. The grass is always greener. So your questions are pretty common questions. Yes, you have to go to an ART accredited program in order to sit for the ART board exam. You will not be able to get a job at a hospital or an imaging clinic without a license. Although there are, I don't know, I get this wrong every time I say it. I want to say there's somewhere around 6 states in the country that still do not require licensure to shoot X-ray, meaning a doctor here in Idaho, for example, that has his own practice can ask his secretary to take the X-rays if he wants to, and there's no law against that. The hospitals here in Idaho know better, and they make sure their technologists are credentialed and have a state credential, although there is no, I say state, have a national credential, the ART or ARDMS if you're ultrasound, or the nuke med with I always get that one wrong, NRTBE or something like that. So the hospitals make sure you're certified, but the state could care less. So there are some places you could still, you could take this knowledge that you have and go work in places. For example, I know a doctor who's looking at opening an MRI imaging center in Idaho. He wouldn't have to have a licensed MRI tech to run that, not in the state. So, if you're looking for how can I do this without going back to school, then there's one kind of loophole. But really what you're asking is, how do I get it done the right way? Can I do it all online? Now, I went to X-ray school in 2003, and back then you had to go through a certain pathway to get to the end goal of getting certified. And one of those, it was very complicated. What I'm trying to say is it's not as complicated as it used to be. And yes, there are online programs, although they're few and far between, and I don't know them very well. And in fact, until recently, I was actually pushing back pretty hard on these online programs, uh, mostly just because I didn't think it was fair that all of us had to go to school for 2 years and deal with all the rigmarole. And these online courses are making it to where you just go to online class. But once I looked a little bit deeper, um, these online schools, for the most part, at least the ones I've seen, really it's just the didactic portion of the classroom portion that's online. You still have to do all the clinical hours, which are free, to you. You're not getting paid for clinical hours. But I have, for example, put an X-ray tech in an ultrasound department, and they went to Weaver State for ultrasound school, at least online to Weaver State. I think that program for ultrasound has you go down there once a semester for 2 days to attend classes. But most of it's online, and you do all your clinicals at your local hospital where you live or wherever you end up going for your clinicals. But um, if you're asking how, since you've said you like MRI better than anything else, if you're asking how you can get straight into MRI on the human side of diagnostic imaging, you can research that as well, because I think there are some programs starting to pop up that don't require the old X-ray license to get into it. Like when I was starting school, you could not get into ultrasound school unless you were already an X-ray tech. You could not get into nuclear medicine school unless you were already an X-ray tech, a licensed X-ray tech. But it's not that way anymore. And I think, with this whole coronavirus thing and everybody being forced to learn from home, I think that's going to open up a lot of doors and a lot of minds to people to say, maybe we can do all this online. Maybe, the didactic or learning portion, the classroom portion, the book studying and the test taking can be done remotely. But you absolutely have to keep the clinical aspect of going to the clinical side and doing hands-on training to learn how to do the protocols and the techniques. I think that's for the most part what you're asking. You say you've been going through a lot of sites and it's kind of getting confusing. That's because, and that's why I started my own website, the radiologictechnologist.com, because there's so many sites out there that are just full of crap, that are just trying to make advertising dollars, or they're getting paid. If you click on their link and go sign up for more information at a school, they get paid for that referral. And you can always tell the bad sites right away when they refer to any of us as technicians. If it says radiologic technician, just leave that site. They don't know what they're talking about. And I think for the most part, I've got over 80 articles on my site answering a lot of these common questions. There's over 30 videos on this channel. If you have any other questions that I didn't answer, leave them in the comment section or send me another email, or however you want to do it, and I'll answer some more. But the bad thing is you can't really shadow anymore, because I'm prompted to say go shadow somewhere in a hospital and see if you like it. Go shadow in an outpatient clinic if you like. But you can't really shadow now thanks to HIPAA and all the patient confidentiality and everything. So maybe you can get lucky and find a place. Every now and then I could pull off a high school senior day type thing and let the high school kids come through and see the department. But it's getting pretty tough with HIPAA. So I'm not sure why you want to leave the vet scene when it seems like everybody I've ever talked to would love to do that. But whatever it is, I would say look into your local schools in your area. Definitely look at your public versus private, because the public schools, last time I checked, were around $8,000, and the private schools are hitting $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 for the same license, same education. Or roughly the same. What you should be learning should be the same. So why spend $50,000 on a private school unless, like me, there was a 3-year plus waiting list to get into the public, and you wanted to get in and out fast, and maybe pay a little bit more to get in and out quicker and start making money quicker. But check out your local schools. And if you're not tied down, I can't tell by your question, if you're not tied down, don't be afraid to travel a little bit and go find the right school for you and do clinicals at a good place. I did clinicals at level 1 traumas, and I did clinicals at small critical access hospitals, and they both have value in clinical training. So try to bounce around a little bit and look at some different stuff and get as much exposure as possible. Don't get pigeonholed into some small little clinic or small town that only does 5 patients a day or whatever it is. So I hope that's been helpful. If you've found this video helpful at all, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. It helps YouTube to see that somebody's watching. And let me know if you have any other questions. Have a great day.